Hey folks, as promised, my name's Mark Oskowitz from Tri-Gable Farm, and I wanted to show you some run options that you could make on your own. This is a large-scale run, so I've got about 18 girls in here. Max, the largest amount of hens I've ever had in here that lived in here peacefully was about 24. I've pushed it to 30 for a short period of time when I had to adopt some hens and take them in for somebody. But that was starting to create some stress. But all I did was extend the run and I gave them more room. So what I've got here is I've got my no-till garden right next to the chickens. That makes it easy to take down this temporary fencing and extend it out so the chickens have full range of the garden in the fall and in the winter. And right now it's spring, so I've reset my no-till garden with wood chip path and straw and everything, and I'll just plant into this. But of course the chickens have already pooped in this, and they've helped to fertilize this. They're nearby. So what you'll see here is I've got cedar posts that I got free from a friend, and I've got welded wire fencing, and that tends to go up about 5 feet. Now, my birds, when they hop on these little shelters here, these are shade shelters. Actually, this is salvaged metal and just kind of like put together a little A-frame here to give them an extra bit of shade in the summer. They love hanging out in these in the summer, and in the winter, this also gives them extra square footage. I put the two of these lined up. And when they get all cooped up here in the winter, they can come out here and just have a little more space. And you'll see I've got these boards running down here. I will run my snow shovel right across those boards, and that, even though the whole rest of the ground is covered in snow, that gives them still some places where they can stand. Because winter being cooped up is not fun. Now let's come back to the fence. This side of the fence towards me is a temporary fence. The other side is a permanent fence. So what we'll do is just kind of like walk around it. What you'll see here is that I have taken either wooden stakes or metal stakes, some of these are, and I've zip tied onto them another stake to get the height. Because my birds, I don't clip their wings. I let them be as they are. If they hop up on top of this, some of my smaller birds that are lighter weight, they can fly their way out of a 5 foot or 6 foot tall fence. So I've got to go, 8 feet tall on these fences. And all this is netting. I got a little grapevine that tried to climb its way up the netting. This is just netting. So it goes 5 feet up and then probably another, 3 or 4 feet up, where we've got netting zip tied to the top of each of those posts. And yeah, it makes a nice little home. Now, yeah, they love this corner down here. This corner tends to get a little sandy, and this is where they make their little holes to do their dust baths and everything. They really dig into this corner and try and get into my veggies and everything. So I even have some logs there to stop them from fully digging out. The permanent side here, so again, I'm using stakes on one side. That's temporary. That side, I'll be honest, in big heavy windstorms, like we're actually going to get tomorrow, or ice storms, this fence is one that I have to keep putting back up. It does require maintenance. This side, I have never had to maintain it other than replacing the netting every now and then. The netting in an ice storm will gather ice way down, and it'll be something where I will have to go around and replace it. But the cedar post placed 10 feet apart. So if we're looking at this, we've got 10, 20, 30, 40 feet of fencing. And this is at least another 10 or 12 feet wide. So my run is about 12 feet by 40 feet. It's quite a bit of space for these birds, and it gives them a lot of space to just be themselves and to get away from each other. Again, the permanent side, where I've got that welded wire fencing and the netting up here, is the foundation. I used to have that going around the whole thing, but then I did something special with this where I put up a temporary side, and this temporary side can go over into my garden area. So altogether, I hope you see that this This is not a crazy complex way of having a big sized run that gives your birds a lot of space. It's a very ethical way of like providing room for your flock, to give them room. Just other things. You'll notice that I don't have anything covering the top. That's because I have this big field, and all around my house is fields. I don't have a single tree anywhere nearby for hawks to hang out. Now, for most people, hawks are a problem. So what I would advise is that you use the same netting, this deer netting, and that you zip tie it over the top of your run. Hawks have amazing eyesight, and they are not going to get tangled up in your netting. They are only going to try and attack during the day, and they will see the netting and they will not fly into it. As just other details with this, I do have raspberries planted along the edge with wood chips. That's intentional. This is the downstream part of the water flow. So as their fecal matter builds up in here and it gets carried in, it gets trapped in this fungal network that where I have where the wood chips are being degraded by edible fungus, wine caps that grow in here, and the wine caps are edible, and they feed the worms that are in the wood chip beds, and the worms then poop out their castings and feed my raspberry plants. This is like a very productive thing where the chickens are feeding me twice. They're feeding me their eggs, and they're also like feeding these raspberry bushes that are downstream of them. So hope this gives you some easy ideas. I know everybody's looking for simple ideas for setting up fencing. If we look at the details as to how this connects in with the coop, this is my like 7x7 coop. I guess we'll come around the side. Oh yeah, garbage cans, man. Got to keep your feed locked up. As we just look, yeah, I built a little wooden gate, and I just bent nails over to create staples, and the same thing against my coop. You could use staples, you could use, screws and stuff like that. I've just got the welded wire tacked in right along. And then you can see way down there, I've got chicken wire right at the base of the coop, just to stop anything from coming in under the coop and digging up into their run. There actually is chicken wire already grown in underneath on this side of the fence, in where the grass used to be. I guess another little detail is this is raised up. The gate doesn't go flush to the ground. There's about 6 to 8 inches, so the gate can swing freely out, so that if I get a lot of snow, I still don't have to shovel the darn thing. I can still open and close the gate without shoveling it. All right, take care. Bye. Bark, 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 bark. Just some chicken sounds at the end. Chickens being chickens.